this is a topic that is going to hit us to the core. It's going to rock our world in so many different ways. Do you understand what I am saying? Do you understand what I am saying? Right? This whole hashtag, this movement of save our children is more than just a hashtag. It's more than just a saying. It's something that's powerful, right? What type of weight does it hold on your heart? And does it hold any type of weight at all? Save our children is powerful, right? It should mean so much to us. Why? Because our children should be a main priority of everyone, because they are the future of the world. Why isn't it important enough to just see that, right? Save our children. What's up, everybody? So welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about something a little bit more important, right? We're not just going to continue to just talk about just motivation and inspiration. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today's video is going to have a little bit more of a somber type feel, right? Why do I want to speak about this? And you're probably thinking, well, get to the point. What are you going to be talking about? So we see the hashtag everywhere, right? Hashtag save the children, right? How many of us are actually taking that super serious? How many of us are actually putting in action with that, right? Who here could honestly say that they're doing that? That is a good question, right? Because we see certain headlines, maybe not in mainstream media or whatever, right? But we're seeing these posts, we're seeing these things being shared, right? And it's taking this different approach, this different angle. You're seeing something that we shouldn't be even discussing, right? This whole save our children or save the children hashtag and meaning and all of this should hit to the core, not just for you to share a post or for you to be like, man, that's really sad, that shouldn't happen, but it should start to take action, right? And it's like, what can we do? Try to create awareness, not just by one post, but creating awareness, talking about it with people, having these conversations, right? Because I see it all the time, right? We're seeing people, we're in an age where everybody's sharing the posts. Everybody's sharing posts. What is that gonna do? Why? You just sharing the post ain't gonna do nothing. I might create some awareness, but just sharing a post with no context, no nothing, no description, nothing. It's just you sharing a post. But you putting in a description, you putting out a video, you going live, whatever it is, then it's starting to be a little bit more proactive, right? That's the thing. We are not being proactive on anything. And why am I talking about save the children, right? Nobody's talking about the 72 children saved and rescued in Georgia, right? Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the child trafficking. Nobody's talking about these kids getting taken and disappearing and stuff like that. It's been happening for a long time. And people, we ain't paying too much attention to it. We ain't putting our worries and concerns on it, right? We ain't letting it impact us in the way that everything else in the news impacts us, because they say it should impact us. And don't get me wrong, all those other things that have happened in the news have impacted us. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, unless the news says it, we don't get impacted by it. We are so influenced by everything around us. And you hear it in my voice, right? I'm serious about this. Why? Because the whole purpose of this channel, right, is for creativity and being yourself, being unique, just finding yourself and loving yourself, right? But how are we going to love ourselves if we cannot love the younger generation, right? They're the ones that are going to be raised up, right? They're going to be the ones rising up to the occasion. But if they're disappearing and all this, how are we going to rise them up? How are we going to allow them to unlock their full potential if we ain't paying 2 cents to our children? That's what bothers me, right? Because here we are, we're hearing all these different things, but we just share a post. We ain't having conversations with our coworker. We ain't talking with the fam. You ain't talking to that person in the grocery line. You ain't at a restaurant, somebody's sitting by themselves and you're sitting by yourself and you ain't talking to them. You on your date, you ain't talking to your wife about it, your husband about it. You ain't sitting at the dinner table talking about it. You ain't talking to your kids about it. You ain't even concerned. It ain't even crossed your mind. It hasn't even crossed your mind. That's the crazy part, right? That's the crazy part. It hasn't even crossed your mind to even speak about it, think about it, or do anything about it. I wanted to try to get people to talk about this, but I just kind of decided to do the video. But it's like, bro, like, what are we doing? Why aren't we doing something more important right now? Right? We ain't doing that. We are just living in this bubble. We're just living life, trying to get through the virus. No, nothing else matters. All the toilet paper, all this is crazy, right? I ain't saying it's nonsense because I ain't gonna say there's no disease. There is a disease, right? I'ma still take it serious no matter what people say, right? Because that's just the humane thing to do. Don't be a jerk about it, right? Don't be a jerk about it, right? So that's why I'm talking about this. Save the children is something that should be really big to us. This should mean a lot to us. It should hold a heavy weight, right? It should hold a heavy weight. If you don't care, then you don't care, and I'm sorry for you. I really am, right? Because like, shoot, I work around kids all the time. I go and help and clean these community centers and child development centers where these kids are learning and they're having fun, they're doing their thing, right? They're living life. Shoot, I take it seriously. I do, right? And like, shoot, it brings me joy when they're like, hey, I like your mask. You play that game too? Or, how's your day? What are you doing? What's your job? Why are you here? Right? It's the curiosity of kids that is like so important, right? Because we've all been there where we ask so many questions, right? Because the foundation of the future is in our kids, right? If we do not invest in them, pour into them, then what are we doing, right? If we're not protecting them and caring for them, then what are we doing? What are we doing? Because I don't know what everybody else is doing. I was having a conversation with a coworker. I have this conversation with my dad all the time. Sometimes with my brother, right? This is not a conspiracy. This is not any of this nonsense. This is real. Why aren't we talking about this? Bro, why aren't we talking about this? Save the children should not just be something that we just hashtag and just leave it as that. Right? Why can't we do something about it? Why can't we bring more awareness to this cause? Right? Why can't we bring awareness to this cause? Like, all I can truly say is kids are important. There's something about them that's just, it's something about our future, and these kids hold that power, right? If we do not give them the best parts of our generation and hope that they make better decisions than we did, then what are we doing, right? Shoot, if if the generation before us didn't instill good qualities into us, then where would we be? I mean, yes, we're kind of messed up at times, right? I'll be honest about that. Technology and everything, but we can also use it for good too. There's good and bad in everything. But it angers me that nobody cares about these kids and that we could just continue to live our lives without having any concern or love for them and what they're going through. Right? I want to kind of just spit on the top of my head with this one. Y'all know, like, kind of rap every once in a while. I love spoken word. That's kind of what I do, right? I don't ever usually do this, but I kind of want to. It just kind of, I just feel it, right? And I think it will be super powerful. God, I pray for these kids and their protection. I understand the torture and the isolation. From a distance, we see the pain, but yet we don't see the pain. We are in a culture where we tend to just flow with the grain. We ain't the type of culture to go against the grain. They tell us one thing and we believe it with all our heart. They tell us the world is getting destroyed, and guess what? Our world falls apart. Isn't that what they always say? We're being manipulated and we're being played. I pray to God that we could open up our hearts and we could show this love again. Because know what? My Savior died on a cross for your sin and for my sin. If we do not invest in the future, in our kin, then how could our children and the future generations ever win? All I know is I want to put out so much light and love into the world before my light goes dim. I want them to carry that mantle and that light to a whole new realm, right? Because if not, they're gonna face death and they're gonna meet the grim reaper. See, this is why our generation is pretty much on our phones looking at it, because we have all become the sleeper. This is why we need to invest in our children. We need to invest in our children because they are important for future generations. This is a spoken word for Save the Children.